Sorry, I don't have any fancy background.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome. My name is Nicole Fond, and I'm the Program Director for Junior Achievement of Mahoning Valley. I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Chris Allen. Chris is the North American Talent Acquisition Manager at Vallourec, and I'm sure he can explain a little bit more about what that means. So at this time, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Chris.
Hello, everyone. Thanks, Nicole. She introduced me as a talent acquisition manager. Basically, what that is I'm responsible for all of the recruiting for Vallourec in the North American region, which includes Canada, the US, and Mexico. So I'm responsible for making sure that all of our jobs are filled and people are here working and producing products. So a little bit real quickly about Vallourec, if you're not familiar with it. Up here in Ohio, it's the very large steel plant that sits on 422 between Youngstown and Girard. And we take scrap metal and we melt that down and produce pipe. That pipe is mainly used in the oil and gas industry, more specifically for drilling to extract the product out of the ground. I've been here for 7 years, actually this month. And I've worked in human resources for about 28 years doing various different things, including employee relations.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're having some technical issues. We will get Chris Allen back online as soon as we can. Welcome back, Chris.
It's gonna, but I'll get through, and I can't show you the PowerPoint, of course, now because I don't have it loaded into my phone, but I'll work through this. It's pretty much, my PowerPoints are pretty minimal anyway, they're just words. So today we're talking about employability, and what does that mean basically? That means, are you a fit for wherever you're applying? And do you have the right technical experience? Do you understand what soft skills are? Do you have confidence in yourself? And would you be able to answer that one question that most employers or hiring managers ask? And we'll talk about that. So what is fit? When you're looking at it from an employer point of view, fit is evaluating whether or not you have the right set of soft skills, that you have the right kind of work style, and you have motivation to do the work. And each employer is a little bit different as to what they're looking for with that. I can tell you generally that most larger companies now emphasize fit over technical abilities because they want you to be able to come in and work in a way that they want, in the direction that they want. So when you break that down, when you look at soft skills versus technical experience is more about what your previous work experience is like, or what your experience is like in school, or what kind of educational background you have. Those are usually the basic areas that they look for to send the person on to the next level to be interviewed. So do you have the right years of work experience? Do you have the right educational background? Does it require a high school degree, a technical degree, or a college degree, and then some? So when we look at soft skills is loosely defined as a cluster of personal qualities, habits, attitudes, and social graces that make someone a good employee and compatible to work with. Some top examples of soft skills would be positive attitude. Are you able to communicate with people? Are you a good problem solver? Can you take something and look at it and figure it out? And can you work with other people? Are you a team player? And a lot of your larger companies, like where I work, we assess these skills before you even get interviewed. So when you're applying for a job, we may ask you to take an assessment that's measuring these skills and abilities before you even come in. Now, the next thing I wanted to talk about is confidence. When you're looking at going and getting a job, I think the biggest deal breaker for a lot of people is not showing enough confidence in yourself. You have to be able to come in, tell people what your message is, be able to be comfortable with speaking with people you don't know. And a lot of people have problems with that piece of it. And then, telling everybody about yourself. Are you able to market your abilities and attributes to the employer that you're trying to get a job, where you're trying to get a job. And those things are really, really important. You need to practice doing those things. And I know it's difficult right now with all this stuff that we have to do, and you can't do things in person, but whenever you have the opportunity, you should practice talking to people in general, people you don't know, and not so much through your phone, but in person. Whenever you have the opportunity, stop and have a conversation with somebody. And another thing to think about when you're talking about confidence is nonverbal communication. Those are all the things that happen while you're talking to somebody. How you sit. Do you look a person in the eye? Do you use your hands a lot like I do when you talk? Are you always looking down? Or when you're interviewing with an employer, are you slouched over in your chair? These are all things that are nonverbal communication that hiring managers and people that do interviewing pick up on, that could be positive or negative on the outcome of your interview. So keep those things in mind and do some research on that. There's a lot of things written about nonverbal communication out there that'll help you out. Okay, that one question that I talked about at the beginning, it's a question that 99% of the employers are going to ask you and ask you first, and it's going to be the start of the conversation. And that question is, tell me about yourself. So if we're looking at basic interviewing skills, that is one question you need to be prepared to answer. Now, it may be phrased in different ways. It may be, tell me about yourself. It may be, let's walk through your resume. But those are cues for you to go through and tell that employer or hiring manager about all your past experiences, all your past accomplishments, and how it's led up to the point where you're sitting in front of them today. Be prepared for that. And when they're saying, tell me about yourself, they're not asking you to talk about, whether or not you like bike riding or football or whatever it is. Telling them about you is telling them about how you fit into the job that you applied for. So it's more about work history, your experiences at school, how that all applies to the job that you are seeking. So just keep that in mind. Try to come up with something like an outline of what you're going to talk about. It doesn't have to be something memorized. And if you do memorize it, people are going to know. So it's got to be more conversational. So I always tell people, just come up with a loose outline of things that you want to cover. And from those points, bullet points that you're going to come up with, that's where the conversation leads. Because a lot of the questions that come out of that narrative are from your past experiences. So if you're looking for other information about this kind of topic, a couple places that I'm involved in that can help with this, or you can get your teachers to contact them, are the Mahoning Valley Manufacturers Coalition or the Mahoning County Educational Service Center. Those two groups work on a lot of this kind of stuff to get students prepared to go into the workforce, regardless of what that is. And they have a lot of resources, a lot of employers like myself that get involved and can help each school or each student one-on-one to achieve that goal that they want. And that's the end of that presentation. I wanted to leave enough time open if anybody has any questions about the topics that we went over, or just any questions in general for me.
Thank you, Chris. Great information. I want to remind everyone to please enter your questions through the Q&A chat below. I do have a question that came through. Chris, do you have any advice for someone that doesn't know what to do for a job? They're just not sure where to get started. Any advice for them?
Well, yeah. When you're going out and you're getting your first job, and I'll use myself as an example. I didn't always work in human resources, and my first job was actually working in a lumber yard, driving a forklift and loading vehicles and stuff with lumber, which has nothing to do with what I do now. I think at this point, when you're looking at getting your first job, you have to look at it this way, that all work is noble and one is not better than the other. And where you are right now is you need to get job experience, work experience, regardless of where that is. I think you should gravitate to where you have some interest. And there's a lot of different possibilities in that. So take a look around. Do you want to work in a retail environment, or do you want to work in a food establishment, or do you want to work in like what I did in building and construction area? There's a lot of different opportunities out there, and it just depends on where your interests are right now. I wouldn't necessarily focus in on where you think you're going to be somewhere down the road, like 10, 15 years from now. I would look at focusing in on getting that first job, understanding what it is, getting that work experience of the routine of work, and then move forward.
Great advice. Thank you. That kind of leads into another question. So a student asked, when applying for a job with no prior experience, what should you refer to?
I would refer to, and I run into this all the time, even with college students, I would refer to your experiences, your life experiences, and how those apply to the job that you're seeking. And you have a lot of experiences going through school that you've worked through, like you've worked on projects, you've worked on teams, you've done, research papers. All that stuff is experiences for you. It doesn't necessarily have to be some kind of work experience. And to be honest with you, any employer who says, well, you don't have work experience, if that's their expectation, then they probably shouldn't even be interviewing you, right? If they're sitting down with you and they know that you're a student and this is going to be one of your first jobs, they should understand that your experiences are not always going to be in the employable parts, right? So they have to look at and evaluate the experiences that you do have. So have the confidence in those things that you've done, regardless if it's work or it's school or it's personal, and then be able to speak to that.
Great advice. Thanks, Chris. We got a couple of questions that were very similar, asking the same information. And I know that's top of mind for a lot of students right now. Another question that just came through, what type of job would you start with at Vallourec? So maybe if you can share a little bit about some entry-level positions or positions that are currently available at Vallourec.
So if you go out to our website, vallourec.com, and you go to the country, because Vallourec is a global organization, so you have to pick the country. You go to USA, and then you go to, I think it says opportunities or career opportunities. You'll see the jobs that we have posted out there. Now, an entry-level job here at Vallourec is a position we call production operator. It's a position that's out in the mills, and it's a very generic, I shouldn't say generic, it's a very general kind of position. And it could be anything from, down on the floor operating machinery, or you could be working in a pulpit, or what we call a pulpit, which is kind of an office area that overlooks certain parts of the mill. You can be doing anything from, retooling on machines, which means that you're down there turning wrenches or doing, rewiring or, fixing things, to being in the pulpit, operating the mill through a computer and video monitors. So believe it or not, a lot of the jobs that we have here are technical. They're not like in the old days when you had people in the back shoveling coal into a furnace or something. That kind of work doesn't exist anymore. Most of what we do is very technical and takes a little bit of education, meaning that you have to understand basic math. You have to know how to communicate with people. These are very good positions. If you have aspirations to go into that, I would encourage anybody to do it. To give you an example, an entry-level job in our mill in Youngstown starts off at a wage of $19.25 an hour. And then it goes up from there. So if you do the math on that, you can figure out what kind of yearly wage that is. That's a pretty good entry-level position for somebody to start off with. But you have to have the right set of educational background and the right attitude and the right kind of soft skills to come in and do that, because we are going to assess people coming in on those things.
Wonderful. Thank you, Chris. That's about all the time we have for this morning's session. We appreciate you spending your time with us, working through the technology issues. And I want to remind everyone to please visit the Vallourec booth for more information that will be located in the exhibit hall. So Chris, thanks again for joining us today.
Thank you. Good luck, everyone, and have a good holiday.